has an amendment at the desk. If the
Yes,
clerks
Mr.
will,
Chairman, I have an amendment at the desk.
the clerks will pass that out. Give us just a minute.
Mr. Chairman,
Dr. Rowe
reserve a point of order on the amendment.
reserves a point of order. The gentleman is recognized for 5 minutes to explain his amendment.
I thank the Chairman. It would be hard to think of any investment, if we could return that word to our vocabulary here in Washington, the word investment. It's hard to think of any investment that has a better payoff for our country, economically, culturally, socially, in just about every respect, than investment in education. Last month I held a student aid workshop, and we attracted an overflow crowd of parents and college-bound students or would-be college-bound students who are worried about how to afford their tuition. These parents and students want to know if they'll have the help that they need to afford college. And they are very concerned that they hear that Pell Grants would be slashed. There's been a lot of talk about the Ryan budget. Most of that talk has focused on Medicare and the fact that this budget would end Medicare in 10 years and give each then 65-year-old, each then senior, a voucher and ask that person to go into the private market and buy a health insurance policy. And the budget proposes to reduce government spending by reducing the government outlay for Medicare. Now, setting aside the argument that this would degrade health care for seniors, I think the Republicans, when they voted for this budget twice, really intend to do that. That's what they want to do. They know full well that this change in Medicare is part of the budget. I wonder, however, if they really meant to slash Pell Grants, which is also part of the Ryan budget. Did you, Mr. Chairman, intend to slash Pell Grants? If we're going to out-innovate, out-educate, outbuild the rest of the world, we have to have a smart, well-trained workforce. And as a member of this committee, since I first came to Congress, I've long supported efforts to make higher education more affordable, more accessible. Some of us here last year wrote a law that made a landmark investment in community colleges and in college aid. It raised, or saved, I guess you'd say, $36 billion to increase the annual Pell Grant to the highest level, the maximum of $5,550. Beginning in 2014, the grant would keep up with the rising cost of living. The amendment that I'm offering at this time would require that Pell Grants be maintained at least that level for this bill to go into effect. I don't think I need to argue for the members of this committee how important Pell Grants are. Certainly in New Jersey, for the 213,000 students who use Pell Grants each year, I don't need to argue how important they are to make college possible. The House approved budget, the so-called Ryan or the Republican budget that's been twice approved now in recent months, would lower the maximum Pell Grant award to $3,040, which would be the lowest in well over a decade, since 1998. And clearly this slashing of Pell Grants would put college out of reach for thousands and thousands of students. You've seen it in each of your districts, my colleagues, I'm sure. So that's why I think this amendment is an opportunity for you to say that indeed you didn't mean for that to be part of this approved budget. As I say, I believe you did mean to change Medicare. to do away with Medicare starting 10 years from now. But I would like to think that you didn't mean to slash Pell Grants. I yield back my time, and I urge support for this amendment.